Before Yang Zi became a traffic actress, before every drama poster turned into a battlefield, before people zoomed into her face to decide whether she deserved the spotlight, she belonged to a gentler memory. China knew her as a child, not a seductive star, not a luxury face, not a woman fighting for ranking charts, fandom wars, and commercial value. She was the familiar little girl from Home with Kids, the kind of face audiences did not simply watch, but emotionally adopted. She was not distant enough to worship. She was close enough to feel like family. That was Yang Zi's first blessing, and maybe her first trap. Child stars do not begin with freedom, they begin inside someone else's nostalgia. The public remembers them before they are old enough to decide how they want to be remembered. Every smile becomes archived. Every awkward stage becomes public property. Every attempt to grow up is compared to a younger version that never had to survive adult judgment. Yang Zi grew up in front of people who thought they knew her. That is a dangerous kind of fame. Because when audiences meet you as a child, they feel entitled to your innocence. They want you to mature, but not too sharply. Become beautiful, but not unrecognizable. Become successful, but not arrogant. Become a woman, but somehow keep the softness of the little girl they once loved. How does anyone grow under that kind of gaze? For Yang Zi, the answer was not simple beauty or instant transformation. She did not re-enter the industry as a flawless goddess who made people forget the child star. She had to fight for adult roles in an industry that often worships fresh faces and brutal comparison. Her face, her body, her styling, her acting choices. Everything became open for public inspection. And the inspection was not gentle. People debated whether she was pretty enough, whether she was elegant enough, whether she could carry romance, whether she looked right beside male leads. Whether her success came from talent, nostalgia, marketing, or simply the audience's inability to let go of who she used to be. That is the cruelty of being a former child star. You are famous before you are fully formed and then punished for changing shape. But Yang Zi kept moving. That is the part people often underestimate. Her career was not built on untouchable beauty or mystery. It was built on endurance, on staying visible after the cute image expired, on proving that the girl from the sitcom could cry, love, break, desire, suffer, and lead a drama as a grown woman. Still, the old label followed her. Nation's daughter. It sounds sweet, but sweetness can be a cage. A daughter belongs to the public family. A daughter is watched, corrected, protected, criticized, and expected to behave. Yang Zi's real fight was never just for fame. It was for permission to stop being remembered as a child. Then came the role that helped Yang Zi look less like someone escaping her childhood image and more like someone building a new empire from its ruins. Lost You Forever was not just another costume drama. It was a battlefield disguised as romance. On the surface, it had everything Chinese drama audiences love: ancient kingdoms, hidden identities, tragic love, loyalty, betrayal, men willing to burn for one woman, and a heroine carrying pain so deep that even beauty could not soften it. But at the center was Yang Zi, and that made the drama more than a love story. It became another public test. Could the nation's daughter become a woman audiences desired, defended, and believed as a tragic heroine? That question followed her into every frame. Because Yang Zi was never judged like a normal actress. When she cried, people asked if the emotion was too much. When she looked beautiful, people asked if the styling was helping too hard. When she stood between male leads, people asked if she had enough chemistry. When the drama exploded, people argued whether she carried it, or whether the story, the men, and the production carried her. That is what happens when the public decides your success must always be explained. But Lost You Forever gave Yang Zi something powerful: complexity. Her character was not a clean fairy tale girl waiting to be saved. She was wounded, cautious, adaptable, and emotionally guarded. She had survived too much to remain innocent. That mattered because Yang Zi herself had spent years fighting the public's refusal to let her grow beyond innocence. The role almost felt like a mirror. A woman who had lived many lives, worn many masks, and learned that survival often means becoming harder than people expect. And Yang Zi understood that hardness. She did not play pain like decoration. She played it like memory. Her best moments were not always the loudest. Sometimes it was the hesitation before trusting someone, the way her face changed when love became dangerous, the way she made vulnerability look less like weakness and more like exhaustion from being strong too long. That was why the drama worked. It allowed Yang Zi to use what critics often attacked her for, her emotional directness. In another role, people might call it too much. Here, it became the engine. Lost You. Forever needed an actress who could make longing feel heavy, not pretty. It needed someone who could convince viewers that love was not a fantasy, but a wound that keeps reopening. And for many fans, Yang Zi did exactly that. The drama helped strengthen her position as one of China's major female leads. Not just a former child star, not just a familiar face from an old sitcom, not just someone surviving on public memory. She became a commercial force, a name that could anchor a huge production, generate discussion, and keep audiences emotionally invested for weeks. But even victory did not free her. It only raised the standard. After Lost You Forever, Yang Zi was no longer fighting to prove she could become an adult actress. She was fighting to prove she deserved to stay at the top. And the higher she climbed, the more people sharpened their knives. Because for Yang Zi, success never ends the judgment. It only gives the public a better view. Then came the trial that never had a courtroom. It happened in comment sections, in screenshots, in beauty rankings, drama forums, reaction videos, hot searches, and the cold little pauses people take before saying, "She is good, but..." For Yang Zi, public judgment did not arrive as one clean scandal. There was no single night, no one leaked clip, no dramatic fall from grace. Her controversy was slower, more exhausting, and maybe more cruel. The endless debate over whether she deserved everything she had. Was she talented enough? Pretty enough? Elegant enough? Natural enough? Marketable enough? Was she really a top actress, or just a child star the audience could not stop remembering? That question followed her like a shadow. In the Chinese entertainment world, beauty can be a weapon, but it can also be a cage. Actresses are not only judged for performance, they are judged for facial harmony, styling, body shape, skin condition, chemistry, camera angles, ancient costume suitability, modern fashion value, and whether they look expensive enough beside a male lead. Yang Zi became a target for all of it. People zoomed in on her face as if it were evidence. They questioned her styling as if a bad costume could prove she did not belong at the top. They compared her to actresses with colder beauty, sharper features, more luxurious aura. They asked why a woman who grew up as the familiar girl next door was now being positioned as a romantic heroine, a tragic beauty, a leading lady men would destroy themselves for. That is where the cruelty sits. Yang Zi was criticized not only for what she failed to do, but for what people refused to imagine her becoming. The nation's daughter label had followed her for years, and even when she fought to become an adult actress, the public kept dragging the child back into the frame. They wanted her to be successful, but not too glamorous, emotional, but not exaggerated, mature, but not unfamiliar, beautiful, but not in a way that challenged their memory of her. So every transformation became suspicious. If she looked different, people asked why. If she looked the same, people asked why she had not evolved. If she chose idol dramas, people said she was chasing traffic. If she chose emotional roles, people said she was repeating herself. If her drama succeeded, they said the male leads helped. If it failed, they said she had finally been exposed. How do you win when every answer becomes another accusation? And still, Yang Zi kept working. That is what makes her story more interesting than the criticism around her. She did not have the luxury of disappearing into mystery. She had to survive by showing up again and again, knowing the next poster, the next trailer, the next close-up could restart the same conversation. Her career became a cycle of performance and public inspection. But maybe that is why she lasted. Because Yang Zi's power was never untouchable perfection. It was resilience. She was not the actress everyone agreed on. She was the actress everyone kept talking about. Loved, mocked, defended, doubted, but rarely ignored. And in modern celebrity culture, being impossible to ignore is its own kind of victory. The tragedy is that Yang Zi had to fight for something very simple, the right to change. Not to be the little girl forever, not to be the perfect beauty, not to be everyone's memory. Just a woman trying to become larger than the version of herself China first loved. Today, Yang Zi is no longer fighting to become famous. She already is. That is what makes her current chapter more complicated. Fame is not the question anymore. Visibility is not the question. She has the dramas, the rankings, the magazine covers, the fanbase, the commercial weight, and the kind of name that can turn a new project into a debate before the first episode even airs. The question now is harsher. Can Yang Zi ever be allowed to exist without being put on trial? Because every new role seems to reopen the same old argument. If a drama performs well, people ask whether she truly carried it. If a drama struggles, people say the weakness has finally been exposed. If she plays emotional pain, they say she repeats herself. If she changes direction, they ask whether the transformation feels believable. Even her face becomes part of the conversation, as if a woman's value as an actress must be measured in close-up screenshots and beauty comparisons. That is the strange cruelty of her current image. Yang Zi is powerful but not protected. She is successful but not universally respected. She is familiar but never safe. And maybe that is because the public still cannot decide what it wants from her. They loved her first as a child, then doubted her as a woman, then consumed her as a traffic actress, then criticized her for becoming exactly what the market demanded. She is expected to deliver ratings, emotion, chemistry, maturity, beauty, freshness, humility, and proof, always proof, that she deserves to remain where she is. But how many times must a person prove she belongs in a room she has been standing in for decades? That is the question behind Yang Zi's present. She is no longer the little girl from the family sitcom. She is no longer only the former child star trying to survive adulthood. She is a grown actress with a long career, a public image full of scars, and a fan base that knows every success will come with a counterattack. Her supporters do not only celebrate her work now, they defend her existence in the industry. And her critics, they keep watching too. That may be the most ironic part. Yang Zi's career is powered not only by love, but by refusal. The refusal to ignore her. The refusal to stop comparing her. The refusal to let her win quietly. In a world where attention is currency, even doubt keeps her name alive. But attention is not peace. Yang Zi's current position feels like standing under a light that never turns off. It flatters and burns at the same time. It gives her power, but it also makes every flaw visible. And after so many years, the real drama is not whether Yang Zi can act. She has already built a career most actresses would envy. The real drama is whether the public can stop needing her to justify it. Maybe Yang Zi will never have the clean, untouchable image of a distant goddess. Maybe she will never be the actress everyone agrees to worship without argument. Maybe her career will always be noisy, divided, emotional, and messy. But maybe that is exactly why she remains interesting. She is not a frozen beauty. She is not a vanished child. She is not a perfect myth. She is a woman still changing in front of an audience that keeps trying to drag her backward. Yang Zi's childhood fame may have been her curse, but surviving it became her power.